Today we're going to be doing our second uncut training lesson. So I'm going to be training our horse Moon here. So Moon is a young thoroughbred that I've been working on and off for the last couple of years. He's a school horse, but he tends to hurt himself a lot in the paddock. So his training can kind of be intermittent. I haven't worked him probably for a couple weeks, and I for sure haven't worked him in here for a while. So what we're going to be focusing on a lot with him today is keeping his attention with me and keeping him focused and not punishing him when he's nervous, but just trying to get him to very much stay with us. So one of the things that I always think about when I'm working a nervous horse is that you can only think of one thing at a time. That you can jump between thoughts, but you can really only think of one thing at a time. And the horse's mind actually works the same way. So if the horse is thinking about being in the indoor and being nervous, well, that's their one thought. If you're thinking about being in the indoor and being nervous, well, that's your one thought. And if your one thought is about being nervous, then the horse, if you have a nervous horse, their thought is going to be about being nervous too. So it's not that I might not jump to that for a second, but I quickly try to use my single thought on something that's more productive. So I always try to think of my singular thought as the cadence and the rhythm of me working the horse. And so you'll see when he does get emotional and excited like there, his steps speed up. So when he increases his speed and he takes those big chaotic steps, it tells you about the state of his mind. So what I want to try to do to get him to be calm is to be consistent in his steps. Now, he doesn't like this end of the arena as much. I already did a couple of minutes with him before we started filming while I was just waiting for our lovely camera lady to get her camera set up. And so we headed down to this end after I'd worked him a little bit at the other end. And so since he doesn't like this end, one of the reasons that he rushes at this end is because when his tail is facing that end, there's a moment where he has a blind spot. And because he thinks Thoraximus lives at that end, he tries to rush through that point where the blind spot is. That's also why he tries to counterbend. And so I try to ask him for bend, and then when I ask him for bend, he swings around. So that's one of the reasons that I keep doing the switching back and forth, because it keeps his mind with me. And it also helps to keep him straight. So if you have a horse that really is nervous and you think might do something potentially dangerous, you want to try to keep that horse bent towards you. That way, if they do spook or they do freak out, it's away from you. But the problem with always doing that and having too much bend is you'll see that in this case, I'm on the right side. I'm never really going to get the control of that left hind. So one of the ways that I can straighten the horse is switch back and forth between sides like I was just doing. The other thing I can do is do a step of turn on the haunches. So even though this horse is green, he's better trained than some of the, it's like a really green horse. So even when he's a little emotional and he splays, it's really not as much as some of the other horses do. Now the other thing about this horse is he's a chronic nipper, which you just saw there. And especially when he gets nervous, he gets a little bit more nippy because he thinks he's being cute. That's how he flirts with his mare girlfriends out in the paddock. But he has to know that that isn't okay to do in here. He also is just a little bit more sensitive around his lips. And so we do trim his whiskers, which I don't normally do. So right there, you saw that he was trying to push through my hand, and there he's trying to push through my hand. So see how I come up and I straighten him, and then I go right back to trying to get my consistent, equal, even steps. And so with him, the moment he starts thinking about nipping, you'll see me make a correction through a vibration or a verbal cue to tell him that that isn't okay to think about, because I want to catch it early. I don't want to wait until he tries to sink his teeth into me and I have to make a big correction, because I want this horse to be safe, which means he can't learn to nip. But I also don't like having to be really strong in my corrections. So catching it early is always a better option. Now, he's doing pretty well, so I decided to ask him a more complicated question. So I'm taking him along the rail, and I'm asking him for a little bit of shoulder in. Now what I'm noticing is I'm getting a lot of bend in the neck, and it's not really connecting through to the hind. So notice that I got him to stop and back and straightened him, and now we're going back to our shoulder in. There I started to get too much bend. So one of the things I could do if I find that I keep on getting too much bend when I'm asking for a left direct rein, which is a circle away from the body of the horse, it's going to put the weight on the left shoulder and the hind is going to circle around. So if I find I'm having a hard time with it on the rail, I can again take him off the rail and see if I can just ask him for a direct rein around me. No, we don't chew on our reins. Thank you. This is another good exercise to do with them sometimes when they're nervous, is to turn into a pillar and have the horse just rotate around you. So this was a little bit what I was doing in the beginning. Now this horse is pretty trained compared to most horses. So you see when he takes those steps, he takes pretty even and equal steps. And so now I'm going to change sides. And I'm going to ask for the same thing on the right. So you can see that there's a big difference on the right side versus the left side. So he's starting to spin out, but I also did a lot of prep work on that left side before I took him into the pillar. So I can do some prep work now on this side, trying to see if I can get him to straighten. And notice how much, even when he's emotional, even more so because he's emotional, I release and I let him go all the time. That each aid is circular shaped. And the reason for that is because it has a release built into it. So sometimes you might see like there, that there's a lot of pressure on the bit for a second. That's him creating that pressure. And notice that he backs and adjusts to the position of my hand, and he gets to enjoy that lightness and that space that he created. So I'm going to intentionally ask him for a lot of bend here for a second. So bend isn't bad. It just a lot of times it's tricky because bend can help you get control, but it's not precise control. So again, if I have a lot of bend, he's just going to go spinning out on that hind, but I might try to ask for bend because to me on this side, I'm not getting a good bend. So I'm getting a lot of right bend, but it isn't a good right bend. So there, he tries to move, so I come up and ask him to back. So I came up, I didn't pull back, and he adjusted to my hand. So getting him to stand still because he's nervous and he's a thoroughbred might be too much for him. So that's okay. It's like trying to tell a little kid that wants to wiggle to sit still. That some horses become less nervous when you let them stop and stand, and some horses become less nervous when you get them moving and get them something to think about. And so because he didn't want to stop and stand and do the flexion, I could put him against the rail and kind of force the flexion, but because he's already a little emotional, that might just increase the anxiety in him. So instead, I'm going to try and see if I can get a flexion and motion. So to me on this right side, it looks like he's very bent on the base of the neck and the top part of the neck, but he's very rigid through the middle part of the neck. And he also has some issues on his right hind, so that could be tying into it. Ah, that's better. And then just like I did on the other side, because I always want to even my horses out, I'm going to take him into a shoulder in. And you can see that he likes to splay a little bit more with his left hind on this side. And so I'm going to put him against the rail. There he's trying to push through my hand, so I'm going to have him stop him back to get with it. Too much. So I had the same problem I'm having on the other. Ah, there it is. That's better. I was having the same problem I was having on the other side, where I was getting too much bend and nothing was happening in the hind end. So that's a very nice shoulder in. Good boy. And so now I've done some collected work. So I'm going to see how he does when I lunge him. So I'm going to go ahead and untwist the reins, or I'm going to twist up my reins. So when you twist up your reins, you shouldn't try to turn them into a chew toy. When you twist up your reins, you want to twist them up enough that even if he throws his head all the way to the ground, he's not going to get his hoof caught in the reins. And you always want to make sure you feed through the middle of your reins and not around them, because if you go around them and it's not threaded, they'll just untwist. So as you move out on the lunge line, you have less physical control of the horse. The aids start to become more psychological. So if I work this horse and I don't have good control from about this distance, then I'm probably not going to get on him, because this is about the same distance it's going to be when I'm riding. So if I can't get things to work from here, I'm definitely going to have an issue under saddle. So when you lunge, you always want the horse to feel very balanced on the circle. And so even though I'm close to him, I can feel that balance. The girth of the horse should always be lined up with the center. So right there, it's not lined up with the center. He was falling in a little on the shoulder. There he's counter bending. So I'm going to try to ask him to bend towards me. And see, that feels more balanced. So now I'm letting him out on the line. And then I'm going to try to increase the walk. So you want to try to get maximum walk. We call that simple projection when we have maximum walk on the lunge line and maximum trot on the lunge line. So it's one of the best things that you can do for your horse. So this horse, because he's built kind of long, he has a little bit more of a reach than some of the other horses that I train. But if you look at his hind, he isn't really pushing yet. And so when I increase the walk, you'll see the triangle shape of his hind legs starts to get bigger. So I want to try to increase that. That's better. Whilst myself staying lined up with the girth. Because if I'm here, I'm ahead of him. And if I'm here, I'm behind him. And that's why he stopped. So now I'm going to go ahead and lunge him on the other side. So same thing. Sometimes you got to stop and get organized. I'm going to take him on this side, and I'm going to try to see if I can make him get it so that he feels balanced on the circle. So again, I feel that funky bend on the right side, that it might look like he's bent to the right, but it's not a uniform bend, that there's no bend in the middle of the neck. So I come in closer to him and I ask for that bend. Ah, that's better. Once it's better, I let him out on the line. Now, one of the things I'm noticing on this side is that his front hoofs are constantly tracking a little bit closer to me and a little bit closer to the center. And so what that means is he's got too much weight on the forehand, he's not really balanced on the circle, and he's accelerating the hind. So I'm going to do a little indirect rein, which puts the weight on the opposite hind, the left hind in this case, and gets the weight to lift off the right shoulder. There he's balanced. There he's starting to fall in. So I can use my whip to intensify the space. So see how I just gently asked on the shoulder for him not to fall in. And he's been wanting to fall in the same spot in the arena, so I can shorten and get closer to him. Notice that I didn't disturb his circle when I got closer to him. He's staying on the same circle, even when I shorten that line. Because if I pull him in, that's just going to make him fall on that shoulder even more. And I want a little more up so that he's not leaning quite so much. That's much better. So now I'm going to try to increase the walk. I don't want trot. I want big walk. Good boy. Oh, so good. So good. So you'll notice he stops pretty square and underneath himself, which is what I want, and that I have him stop out on the line, that he didn't just stop on the front end and then turn in towards me. Brian, how much longer are you going to be in here? No, I want you to stay. Okay. Because I'm going to ride Moon, and I haven't ridden him in here for a while. And I know he's going to get a lot more excited if you leave. If you want to learn more about work in hand and how to get a more harmonious relationship with your horse and learn how to communicate in harmony with your horse, check out our online Harmony in Hand course. The link is in our bio on the Instagram. Oh, so good. So good. Good boy. I always feel like I'm going to fall off the mounting block. So I'm not going to get on him until I feel like he's settled and square and with me. So when I got on him, he wanted to walk off right away. And so because this horse is a little bit more high energy and a little bit more high strung, instead of stopping him, which is what I might do with another horse, I just kind of slowed him down because like we talked about in his warm up, this is a horse who really likes to move to calm himself. And so if I just try to make him stand still, he's just going to get wigglier and wigglier. Now there's this shadow over here, and this horse is green, but he's not super green, but there's this shadow over here from the door, and to him, that just looks like a giant hole in the arena. So as the horse gets more trained and more used to these kinds of surroundings, then they'll get more used to those things. But I just always have an eye for that kind of stuff and awareness for that kind of stuff when I'm on these younger and greener horses. And I'm not going to force him towards it. If I find he hesitates, I know why he's hesitating. So just like I felt on the ground, under saddle, I feel like I have a lot of left bend and I'm not really getting a connection with the left hind. So I want that left hind to come under as I bring my left rein away from him, which is a direct rein, and then I change directions. Now I'm going to let him walk out, going to the right. So when I let him go, he feels really good and really happy because he feels like if a monster comes to eat us, he's going to be able to run away. But as a rider, when he has his freedom, it feels like you're not going to have any control if he does something or he gets nervous. So when you ride these nervous horses, it's really important to try to strike that balance between putting the horse together and then letting them go. But your aids should never feel like they attack the horse when they're under these stress situations. It doesn't mean not to make a correction, because I find a lot of times people don't make the correction because the horse is emotional and they think the horse is going to get more emotional. But if you never make the correction, the horse will just never know the boundaries. And so again, it's like, if I need to make a correction, I will make a correction, but all my aids with him should be very soft and very quiet and always letting him go. That even if I'm not getting what I want, or I feel like he's hanging on me or something, it's important to let him go, because he has to feel like he has the ability to run away, and that's what's going to give him confidence as a prey animal in a nervous situation. And so one of the things you see I keep asking him for is shoulder ins, which is just such a great exercise for getting the horse together. So you see a lot of times I put him together and then I let him go. And a lot of times people are nervous to let their horses go. You only need to let him go 1/4 of an inch. It doesn't have to be much. That just a simple opening of the fingers. And when you let them go, it's always letting them go in a rhythm and a cadence. It's not about abandoning them. So now I'm going to do an indirect rein, do a turn on the haunches, and we're going to change directions. And again, that's a very collected move, so now I'm going to let him go. And now I'm going to try to increase the walk, because just like I want that really big walk on the ground, I want that really big walk under saddle. So as I increase the walk, I let the reins just gently slide out of my fingers, because what's going to determine the range of motion in his stride is the height of the head. So as I ask him to lengthen and walk out, his head's going to get lower. If I want to ask him to do something that's going to involve collection, like a shoulder in, I'm going to shorten my reins. I always have my rein adjustment come to me. I don't slide my hands forward. I create the space in the rein, and then I readjust. I create the space in the rein, and then I readjust. I don't just crank my reins tighter, because that's the same thing as pulling, and we never want to pull on our horses because it causes all kinds of neck issues. It makes them camp in their hind end. It's going to make him more nervous. So similar to what I was finding on the ground, which is why I love work in hand, I got a really nice shoulder in on the right side once I fixed the bend, and on the left side, it's a little wonky. He feels a little wonky through his shoulders. And so one of the things I'm going to think about, and it did help, is keeping my legs just a little bit closer to him. So we don't use our legs a lot in the riding that we do. And when we do use our legs, it's always in agreement with the motion of the horse. It's never through a squeezing or a kicking kind of motion. So now that I've done some shoulder ins and some lengthening, now I can ask him for some harder stuff. So I'm going to ask him for some half pass type work. So we're going to do a half pass across the demi-diagonal and see what that gets us. It's okay if it's not perfect, if he falls out of it. So like so, I kind of had it and then I lost my bend. So I'm going to let out a little on the right rein. Try to close on my left rein. There it is. So you can see when I get close, he starts to slow down and lay back because it's hard for him. So then I let him walk out, because I want to try to keep that nice forward thrust. So I can do the same thing and turn on my demi-diagonal. So the demi-diagonal is any point from your center line to the long side. So right now I have right bend. I'm going to change the bend to the left. I readjust my reins. I want the shoulders to get to the rail first. I should feel a push from the right hind out through the left front, like so. Ah, very good. Much better. And so since he seems like he's being more quiet, I'm going to give him a chance to just stop and stand for a second and see if he'll stand quietly. Because one of the things, like we talked about in the last video, that we really want to train our horses to do is to be able to just stand quietly on a long rein. And one of his favorite things is to turn his reins into chew toys. So I can take that as an invitation to restart our work. So I did some half pass on my right primary. So now I can do some half pass on my left primary. I could have turned there, but I think I'm going to stay along the rail because right now I have an outside left primary rein and I have right bend. So I'm already setting up for my half pass going to the right. So I can use my circle here to help me set up my half pass. So I'm going to shorten a little on the right rein. More importantly, I'm going to lengthen a little on my left rein. So you see he's thinking about cantering. I've been introducing him to the canter, and so sometimes that's one of his favorite answers. And also, the half pass very much mimics the canter. And so you see he had those thoughts, and I just kind of gently said, no, we're going to keep our tempo at the walk because I don't want to punish him for trying those things that we're learning. So I'm going to again let him go a little bit along this long side. Try to see if I can get a little more walk. And now I'm coming into it a little bit differently, which might make it harder that I have left bend. So I have to change the bend to the right. And I can tell he's getting emotional about it, which we already knew he was having a hard time with that right bend. So I'm going to come up on my left rein because I want him to bend to the right. I want to focus more on lengthening this left side of the neck than shortening the right side of the neck. And so right now I have a shoulder in. I don't have right bend. Ah, now I have right bend. Ah. And again, he's a little stuck, so I'm going to let him go forward for a second and then put him in the movement again. Ah. And I think that's a great place to stop with him. If you have any questions or comments about this video, feel free to leave them. And if you want to learn more about work in hand, we have a lot of content in an online course that is also in the description.